If you're buying an Amazon business or you own an Amazon business and you have more than a handful of SKUs, one of the things you run into a lot is all the things that you have to do for each SKU, especially if you're adding a lot of variations, or honestly, if you just have a lot of individual SKUs, there's a lot of things that need to get done. And if you're constantly adding new products or you're buying a business that has a lot of products, it's hard to know what needs to get done, and kind of how to prioritize that, and just the volume of work to be done. Like, that's a big problem. So anyway, I put together a dashboard to look at this, and I look through every SKU on a 100-point scale. Actually, I have 101 points, and I'm working on it. I'm trying to get it up to 200 points, but I have the 100-point scale ready. And I wanted to show you what that kind of looks like. So basically, what you're looking at right now is the dashboard, and it gives you your average score out of the 101, and then it gives you like the previous month's score. Now, these are comparing the same month, so obviously there's no change there. And then you've got these category averages. So sellable basically means, can you sell the product? And this is an easy one, is it active and does it have inventory, right? Like, that's an easy one to check off the list. But as you can see here, there are some SKUs that are not sellable. Either they are out of inventory or they're inactive, but they're still on the store. And so you need to take a look at those. Anyway, then there's listing. So basically this looks at your listings and looks at all kinds of things on the listing. Could be your weight, could be your dimensions, could be any compliance documentation that you need. Account health is pretty obvious. It's in your account health. It just sort of looks at that. And then if there are SKUs that have issues there, it highlights them in here. Inventory, again, this is not that you have inventory. It's that you have your minimum amount of inventory. You're not overstocked on inventory. You don't have things like unfulfillable inventory sitting in there. You're not incurring extra fees. Product pages, that's pretty obvious. Do you have pictures? Do you have enough pictures? Do you have A plus? Is your title good? Do you have bullet points? That kind of stuff. Merchandising is things like, are you using bundles? Do you have accessory products? Are your variations correct? Pricing, that's things like, do you know your cost of goods? Is your product actually making any money? Are you running at a positive margin? Fees, that's what it says it is. It's analyzing your fees and making sure you have those optimized. Advertising, this is not that in depth with your advertising, but it is analyzing whether or not you're doing the minimum to be successful or be proactive with advertising. And then external traffic, that's a big one that a lot of people score a 0 on, but it is weighted very heavily for Amazon. They really like external traffic, and it just measures whether or not you are sending external traffic. So there are a lot of individual scores within each of those categories, but that's kind of a breakdown of the categories. And then at the SKU level, here's kind of the SKU breakdown. You can see every SKU in here, and it highlights problem areas. Right now, this is just highlighting sellable as sort of the main problem area. If it's not sellable, you've got a big problem. And then this here is SKU profitability. So it looks at your contribution margin. And if you don't know what contribution margin is, that is essentially how much money each sale is making you. It's different than gross margin because it doesn't factor in everything that your gross margin would factor in, but it factors in basically the variable cost of a sale. So things like your cost per acquisition, how much you're spending on ads per sale on each SKU, your cost of goods, obviously, return percentage of that SKU, any other fees associated with that, the sale of that SKU. So you have your FBA fee, but then you also have your referral fee. And then it tells you basically what that is. It also tells you whether or not you are acquiring a customer profitably, meaning the margin you make on each sale, are you spending more to acquire that customer than you are actually making on that sale? In this case, you can see these two SKUs are spending more on advertising, more to acquire the customer than the actual sale itself makes. Then here, it just shows you what has been done month over month, and this will make more sense when I show you this one, which outlines all of the opportunities still left for each SKU. So this goes through, obviously, the 101 points on every single SKU, and then it outputs a list of things to do. And then prioritizes them. So you have these high priority tasks that essentially, these are the things you really want to focus on. So in this case, you have a lot of SKUs that are not active or are not sellable. And that's a number one high priority. Like, that's the first thing to address. What is going on with that? Then you go into medium priority. These are things that you definitely should get to, should do, but they are not as important as the high priority tasks. And then obviously low priority are things that are nice to haves and should probably get around to eventually, but you definitely want to prioritize high and medium before you worry too much about low priority tasks. And then here you can just see exactly all of the points that go into the measurement. So you can see all of the individual criteria used to get this score. And anyway, it puts out this score, kind of gets your big average score, your category scores. This one gives you your individual SKU score right here. And the way that this dashboard is created is through this giant spreadsheet. It goes through every SKU and does all the checking. And you can see kind of all of the reports that have to be pulled to generate this kind of data and to make sure that we are assessing every single point accurately. And some of these fields are calculated fields, like calculated COGS. So that is not a report, but it's pulling reports and then doing calculations on the back end to then feed your profitability. So you can see how this could be really helpful when you have lots of SKUs, like 100 or 1,000. In this case, talking about 20 SKUs or so in the test. If you had 1,000 SKUs, there's no way you could do this manually by looking through each SKU for all these points. You need a tool that can tell you all this stuff about each SKU, and then you can, prioritize checking things off the box. And there's a lot of reports that got to get pulled, and there's a lot of back-end sort of connecting the data and manipulating the data that outputs the dashboard. But the dashboard is kind of the simple interface to show you what you need to do. And what's kind of nice is, one, that it makes it so simple, but two, that you can pretty much build this yourself. Like I said, you have to pull all these reports because that's how this thing functions, and that's what is required to find all the data that you need. But what I'm going to do is give you the checklist if you want it. It's this has all of the points that are being tracked for each SKU, and you can enter your SKU up here. So let's say your SKU is 101, right? You enter your SKU up there, and you can start checking off the boxes, and you can see that it tracks, how many boxes are checked, and then it gives you your average score. So this would be your average across all your SKUs. So if you only have the one SKU, you can just delete these tabs. But let's say you have a few more. You can copy and paste. And so then it's, you see you get 5 SKUs now. And so you can see as you do this, how many SKUs out of your total that you have checked off and are successful on. And then it will show you obviously where the areas are that you need to improve. So this makes things pretty easy. Obviously this is kind of the manual way, the hard way, but you can do this. You can use this list to basically get the same concept here. This is just sort of consolidated, and I can do this part for you. I can build this dashboard for you and connect all the reports and give you this easy version of it if that's something you're interested in. But this part here is available. I'm going to post a link. You can just click on it and download it yourself, or actually just copy it. When you go here, you just make a copy, and then you can essentially use this report yourself. And if you want to create a dashboard, you can do that. But that requires a lot of pulling other reports. So this is the dashboard here. So I wanted to just kind of show that off because it has proved to be pretty helpful for sellers with lots of SKUs, because like I said, can analyze basically an infinite number of SKUs. And if you're somebody that buys or owns multiple brands, it's a good way to see how each brand individually is doing. So you can kind of separate SKUs by brand, and then each brand has its own dashboard, and you can see how much progress you're making on that new brand. Or if you're buying a business, right, you can run this checklist to see everything that you need to do to get that new business off the ground, or start improving immediately, areas to focus on, because obviously in that particular case, if you're buying an Amazon business, you need to be able to generate more profit. So you obviously need to see where you're profitable. Like I said, this is something that I'm doing for clients now, and it's being received very positively. So I wanted to share it. And if this is something that you would want to do yourself, this checklist is available. I'm just going to have the link, and I'm going to share the link. Then you just need to copy it and use it yourself. If you're interested in me creating a more simplified, usable version like this dashboard that can look at more SKUs, where you have to kind of look at all these reports and create some of these reports, that I'm open to that too. You can DM me or you can email me, and yeah, so I thought that would be pretty helpful. If you're interested, you can get the checklist, and if you're interested in me helping out, let me know.